Okay, this video is about life as a RN, how it's one aspect of it, how it's different than regular work. Um, it Your expectation is to be on the unit, just like you saw in the recent Sinai strike, Mount Sinai strike in New York City. There was a tweet. I think it was a CCU manager, and she posted something very offensive to nurses. We take, it's like, I think the caption is, I apologize if I'm quoting it out of turn. I think her name was Liza or something like that. The manager, she posted, "Real heroes show up," and it was a picture of, I guess, all the nurses that showed up for work at the CCU. This is critical care, and this is not something you could just walk away from, just like ICU, NICU, and I believe there wasn't a disproportionate amount of ICU, NICU coverage because those are very, very top-notch cases. I always say to my girlfriend, she's a NICU nurse, I say, you guys are frontline. This is BS if they have to go beyond 2 assignments. A lot of patients are named one-to-ones. One nurse, one patient. That's it. You can have twins and you need 2 nurses, one and one. Let's say they're born 23, 24 weeks, out of a 40-week gestation. I mean, they're born, 4 months early? It's very high acuity, and I think that was what some of the Sinai complaints was like. You can't give me 4 assignments. I complain. I might bitch and moan about 4 assignments. I can handle 4 assignments standing on my head, but they're med surg. It's not ICU, and that's just the way it is. So going back to this post, the implication is that we're supposed to be there. Now there is, a modicum of, we have a certain responsibility morally, ethically, legally to our patients. Like you heard the horror stories and Katrina, Hurricane Katrina, where patients were just left and the nurses, abandoned them. I don't know the scenario, but they were abandoned. They died. I think they drowned or whatever. They were elderly. That's a whole nother world, by the way, long-term care and stuff like that, where you have 30 patients or more to one nurse. It's just completely insane. Our healthcare system is massively broken. It's massively broken. I'll debate this with anybody. I don't care. It's massively broken. Would you want one of your loved ones to be one of those 30 patients? One of those 30? That's standard almost. And I don't want to say standard, but that's people, we look at that and we're like, we've heard of that. We've seen that. We've had that assignment. Because there's not enough nurses. There isn't enough. I don't like some of the comments where they're saying, oh, there isn't a nursing shortage. And no, there is a nursing shortage. This is against the strikers. They were saying, some of the people are saying, oh, no, they should just come and negotiate. Yes, they should come and negotiate. But there is a significant nursing shortage. It's not even close. All right. But it improves your negotiating power if they say that. I've been on both sides now. I'm a worker. I've been on management. So I see both sides. I've seen them. I've fought unions, and I want to join a union right now. I've always been at least neutral to pro unions because I know they serve a purpose. It's unusual to see the far extreme, but it's not so unusual to see the far extreme of employer abuse. So that's why I'm like, like I said, I now that I'm a worker, I said, wow, I was a really good employer. Most of these guys are assholes because they're looking for profit. They don't give a shit about the employee. That's what it is. I see that. I was an oddball. I wasn't a very good businessman. My cards on the table, I was a shit businessman. I know I could have done better, but I chose not to because I want to be an asshole. But going back to the story again, that's the implication that we're supposed to show up. And no matter what, almost, you can call out. You can always have that option to call out, but you do feel your mileage will vary, but you feel guilty about calling out and leaving your friends in the lurch. They're short. My girlfriend recently, NICU nurse, like I said, I'm a med surg nurse. She said, call out. And the scenario was my dog had died. Almost 14 years old. I knew he was dying. I had prepared my kids. I said, oh, this dog is like 90% stomach and 10% everything else. He does not give a crap about anything else other than food. He's like 90% pig, 10% beagle. We all know, because they were like, well, he's getting old. And, when do you think he's going to go, Dad? What about? I was like, when he stops eating or doesn't take an interest in food, the writing's on the wall. Well, sure enough, that was what the case was. And I knew that. I had offered him a treat, and he had been having troubles. And it was 3 days. Went from healthy, relatively healthy, old dog to dead. And I had to clean it up and take him to the vet. And not put him down. I wanted to be able to at least put him out of his misery, but I didn't have the time. I was on shift. It was the beginning of my shifts. I had a weekend shift, so I actually took on a Saturday. And I still had another shift that night. And actually, the night before, my friend was asking me, she said, you seem off, right? You're usually whatever. A little pepper. And I was like, yeah, I'm still off. And she's like, oh, what's the matter? And we're in the med room, and I was like, well, my dog's dying. And you could tell she's not expecting that. She was expecting girlfriend troubles or something like that, or whatever. A patient's giving me grief. I almost turned her to tears of that. And I'm sorry. Just she's like, how old is he and all that? And I was like, he's almost 14. And she's like, oh my God, and they're family at that point. Long story short, I came home and my daughter was I walked through the door and she was bursting in tears. She was like, Dad. And he was there, dead. She had woken up early. He was still alive, but then, I guess she saw his last breath and she was like, like that. So dead bodies are not neat. Okay, you'll know this from human bodies and what have you. And I've had to deal post-mortem with people. And it's different because they're not family. Of course, you have some empathy there, but this was family, even though he's a furry guy. So it really dawned on me, or it hurt, that I couldn't be there. I could. Like, again, in all due respect, I could have called out easily. I could have called out for 2 days. I had the PTO. I had whatever, but I didn't want to leave my friend short. We were already short. We were supposed to be fully staffed. We had 10 nurses on call, on duty. We only need 6. We're still going by our old system. So we usually float people. Sure enough, a couple of people called out, because I think they said, well, there's 10 of you. 2 people got pulled, and then they pulled another one. So we're down 1. That's because we become the float pool. So I kind of knew that was coming up, because I already worked one night. This is my middle night. I didn't want to call out. The expectation is that you go. And like I said, that picture from the CCU manager is in a nutshell what triggered a lot of nurses. People are like, why does that bother you? Because of that shit. Because you're expected to be there, even if your loved one's in the hospital. There's been exceptions. I've had techs and nurses that's like, oh, my kid's in the ER downstairs, and I'm like, go. They're like, no, I'm in the middle of shift. I was like, I'll cover go look in on them, and then come back. And then, they did that. But, anywhere else, you'd be like, I'm dropping everything, I'm going. Right? Would anyone begrudge you for doing that? But somehow this industry begrudges us to say, hey, you got to show up. Don't get me wrong. It is, sorry, a rare edit. I'm cooking at the same time. It's middle of the week, so I'm cooking. But that is what the industry expects of us. And it's not even thought as unusual. Call in another nurse, have a float pool ready, or what have you, But the CCU nurse, yes, it's in the middle of a strike, but you're supposed to be fully staffed. Go then dip into your thing, because you're paying travelers 5 times as much as us, regular full staffs. So you're telling me you don't have that wherewithal? You do. I love to talk to any of these administrators, because I was like, I can run your business to the ground in a second run rings around you because they're idiots. And I have friends that are top executives, CEO of hospitals. And I'm like, yo, dudes, you wouldn't survive 5 minutes in a true corporate world, in the top 50. You know, you got to make profit. You got to do this and you got to do whatever. You guys are running things like that. I don't know. I understand why. I won't go into the specifics. I shouldn't say I can run rings around them. They are smart businessmen and people. I know why they do certain things. It's unconscionable in my opinion. It's immoral in my opinion. It is to perpetuate the system. I don't like it. And again, I wouldn't have subscribed to it. But I understand why. I should retract that. All right. I'm just upset. My hackles are raised. You know, it touches a nerve. Like I said, I lost my dog and I couldn't even be with, take care of that. Again, I could have taken the days off, but it would have been implied. And I'll tell you to the point of my annual review was recent, and I got great mentions, even to the, and I like the manager who reviewed me, and she says, "Oh, you didn't even call out. That's a good thing." Our corporate policy, it is codified. We have a webpage just for it. Corporate policy is to call out when you need to. That's a standing call. But behind that, onto the side, is these reviews that say, no, you shouldn't really call out. That's going to be a mark against you. What the hell is that, right? I wanted to argue with the manager, but again, I liked her, and that was my review. I was like, I just bit my tongue. Because in one hand, that's policy. It's written in black and white. There's policies you can print out that says, no, whenever you need, and they foster that. But the industry fosters this other thing. So, because you have to think, well, why does that have that policy of encouraging call-outs, encouraging you to use your PTO? Why does that have to be said? That's when you have to say, wait a minute, what? It's like a concept of, they protest too much. There's a reason. Whoa. Why should there be a law against murder? You should know enough not to commit murder, right? You should know enough not to commit kidnapping and larceny and all that stuff. But there are laws because people do it, right? There is something that's there. There's wackos or what have you, greed or what have you. This scenario where PTO is discouraged, calling out is discouraged. Like that picture from that CCU manager saying real heroes show up. Sorry, lady, you've been a little too far away from the front lines now. I don't care if you're front line, whatever. You're a manager. I don't care what her credentials are. She's turned. That's when I say to people, I say, be careful if you want management position because you cannot have friends. And I don't begrudge her in that sense. I know why. Just like I said a minute ago about why administrators do what they do. It's to perpetuate that scenario. Sorry. But that's because this is Pie. She's our three-legged cat. Okay. Yes, there's a lot of furries around. I have a lot of furries. And this is not even my cat. This is my daughter's cat. My cat's probably sitting on my bed. But I felt this needed to be said and to be warned. A lot of my videos is warnings to you guys. I want you guys to join us. It is a great profession. Again, my girlfriend loves what she does, but she doesn't like her job. If you guys understand that, okay? It's just gotten really bad, but she loves what she does. Like she says, on the good days, it is the best in the world. And she was like, I could do this for free. And then on the worst days, she's like, you could pay me $1 million. I don't want to do this again. She's that dichotomy. Truly, she's very much a person of how she describes things. Very, very literal in that sense. I truly believe her. She would do it for free on those good days. She's like, oh, those are great. I love, she's caring for babies. She's caring for preemies and helping the parents. And then the worst days, she's like, I don't care what the money is. I don't care. This is horrible. I don't want to come back. And it's not so much the family. It's just the scenario of being overwhelmed. The ratios, like I was saying, 4-to-1 for ICU. That's ridiculous. That's immoral. That's dangerous, and that's what Sinai was talking about. You know, and I want to prepare you guys. This is the industry you're going in, and it's better. It's better now than it used to be. I'm going. Obviously, I was in the transition period there. I'm talking from people I've dated. I've dated many nurses in my life now, and talking to old guard, nurses that were people that were nurses in the 80s. Yes, I'm 52. I'm going to be 53 soon. So yeah, I date people that old. She was older than me, so yeah, I think she was actually a nurse, like in '81. Yeah. So yeah. But that was horrific back then. That's using today's standards. But today's standards still don't pass muster on scenarios like what Sinai was pointing out. And that's just Sinai. That's just one system. I think it covers maybe 4 or 5 hospitals. There's probably like 50 to 70 hospitals in New York City. And remember, it's 7 million people there. You got the other boroughs. I think it dealt with 2 Manhattan or 3 Manhattan hospitals and 2 Queens hospitals, I believe. Maybe another one in Brooklyn. Or maybe it's 2 in Brooklyn, 1 in Queens. I don't know. I'm a Queens native, actually, so I should know this, but I don't. I don't keep up. Sorry. But that's what they were arguing about, and that's what you guys have to understand you're getting yourselves into. I'm sorry for the long video, but it's just it's a very important topic that you have to understand walking into this, that no, you just can't just turn around. I mean, you can't definitely turn around during the shift unless you're about to faint from COVID. And I've had people do that, and we're like, you got to go home. You've got COVID. You get out of here, whatever. But you're like, I got a headache, or I've got, I'm pooping from this. No, you're supposed to finish your shift, because you could be brought up on charges for abandoning your patients. You have to make sure you have coverage. You have to make sure we can cover you. You can't just turn around and walk out, like a barista at Starbucks. You say, I'm quitting, bye, and hang up your apron and leave. Guess what? You do that as a nurse, you're going to be brought up on charges. So there are expectations. But that's far extreme. I'm talking about the self-expectation that you're going to be feeling that you have to go. You have to do that because there is an underlying corporate industry feeling that you got to show up. Like I said, with my manager, that scenario. And also with that CCU manager posting that on, I don't know, it was Twitter or Facebook or whatever it was. Just a heads up. Good luck, and I hope you do join us. It is a good job, good profession. It's something you could take anywhere in the world. That's something my girlfriend and I talk about. We're like, we can go anywhere. We got something where we could go to New Zealand, pass their licensing and do what we do. You can retire anywhere. It's a respected profession, and you make decent money. But are you abused? Yeah, you are abused. But it's 9 times out of 10 jobs, right? Good luck, guys.